Disgraced Prince Harry has emerged from 24 hours of hiding in Birmingham as he drags the British royal family into a new drugs scandal. So here are the images, very carefully released images, shall we say, of Harry just pretending all is okay. And that Charlotte Griffiths, the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, who has been completely vindicated by Justice Nicklin in the slam dunk Daily Mail victory over Prince Harry in court, has revealed that on her first meeting with the then third in line to the throne, Harry produced a white pill, put it on her tongue, and said, "Now I know I can trust you." This revelation comes after both myself and Lady Colin Campbell, who is with me today, have revealed that Harry seems to be becoming increasingly dependent on legal substances. So, Lady C, we're going to get into all of these astonishing revelations about Charlotte Griffiths, including, by the way, comments that she has made about you in this major Daily Mail expose today. But first, can we just talk about the here and now? Because yesterday, Harry was visiting the Chelsea hospital, you know, with the Chelsea pensioners. Meghan was meant to be there. It was meant to be a huge deal. We didn't see one image of him, Lady C. Today in Birmingham, don't seem to be any cameras or any real journalists in there. This guy is clearly struggling through what is now his darkest week.
Well, of course, Dan. He's facing millions of pounds in costs. I mean,
which he doesn't have.
Which he doesn't have, and which he never had. And he and Meghan both calculated, and let's remember, Harry gave away the game plan for this whole con, this operation, this crookery in Spare. Remember, when Archie was born, and Archie was too young for them to accept the Queen's invitation to go up to Balmoral because he couldn't fly that distance. But at the same time, they ended up taking him to the south of France, to Elton John's villa, which is a far greater distance, where Elton John introduced him to David Sherborne. And David Sherborne pointed out to him he had a case, and Harry said that he was going to defend Meghan against the press, blah, 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 blah. So the game plan was orchestrated by David Sherborne with the assistance of Elton John and David Furnish, according to Harry in his book Spare. Let's peg that in reality. Harry is now looking at millions of pounds in costs. Whether he was insured or not, he would only have been insured up to a certain point. And the fact of the matter is, he is looking at millions of pounds in costs. He's also looking at the total ruin of his reputation.
It's gone.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's lucky that Mr. Justice Nicklin has not referred him, or indeed David Sherborne and Anjali Sanjani to the police for investigations into criminal activity. I mean, he really should have done it.
And we know that this whole thing obviously came about because of criminals working behind the scenes at Byline Times, who Prince Harry had previously linked up with to try and destroy me. But Lady C, I just want to talk first about the drug revelation, because what is so ironic about this, Lady C, of course, is that it would never have come into the public domain if it weren't for Harry deciding to drag Charlotte Griffiths into court. She was very clear here and outspoken yesterday. She had no intention of kissing and telling or revealing the Facebook messages or talking about this drug moment at all, okay? Until he dragged her into court. He tried to ruin her life. And at that point, she has now released this article. And Lady C, it's a particularly difficult time for Harry to come out and try and deny this, because Justice Nicklin has just said that he found Charlotte Griffiths to be a credible and honest witness. So let me just read from you this astonishing revelation from Charlotte Griffiths today, where she writes, Harry had recently returned from California, where he'd been learning to fly helicopter gunships. I was a 27-year-old trainee journalist working on a gossip column for a very different British institution, the Mail on Sunday. According to the table plan, the Prince and I were to sit next to each other at dinner. And because Harry was doubtless wary about being introduced to an H&M-clad stranger, he decided to kickstart our relationship by subjecting me to a little test. From his pocket, he removed a small white pill. He then held it up to my face, popped it onto my tongue, and said with a smile, "Now I know I can trust you." Take that white pill he'd so brazenly stuck in my mouth, and then here's the important clarification, Lady C, which I discreetly removed and folded into a napkin soon afterwards. It was almost certainly paracetamol rather than something more sinister, but I couldn't be entirely sure. Trying to make small talk over the champagne, I therefore found myself pondering two questions. Had a senior royal just attempted to give me a Class A drug, and as a result, would I remain in possession of my marbles during what was a pretty swanky do, complete with butlers and outside caterers? Now, Lady C, can we just take one moment to think about the extraordinary nature of what Charlotte Griffiths is just revealing? She was a journalist, okay? Now, Harry claims he had no idea. I'm sorry, everyone at that party, Lady C, knew she was a journalist and placed him alongside Charlotte Griffiths in the table plan next to her. So, okay, Harry claims that he didn't know she was a journalist. Do I believe him? No, I don't. But he claims he didn't know. But even if he didn't know, Lady C, this is a 27-year-old young professional woman who he has never met before, who he seems to be feeding with drugs on the moment that they have met in some type of weird, like, sort of attempt to get her on side in this sort of drug-taking circle immediately. It's hugely, hugely grim, and it says a huge amount about the real Prince Harry.
Absolutely. Also, it says an awful lot about Charlotte Griffiths. First of all,
Well,
it
she
said
says
that
she didn't take it, Lady C. Are you questioning that?
No, absolutely. But it says a lot about her because A, she didn't take it. B, she kept her mouth shut for however many years. C, she is bending over backwards to get the story past Liz Hartley at the legal department with absolute, and that's absolutely correct. So she says that it was a small tablet and it would have been paracetamol. Paracetamol are never small white tablets. They are relatively large white tablets. So right there, anybody who's ever taken paracetamol will know it cannot have been a paracetamol tablet. That's number one. Number two, she had to have known it wasn't paracetamol because as soon as you put paracetamol on your tongue, it starts to dissolve. So everything is wrong about that. She's being discreet and to get the story across the legal line. You know as well as I do what she's had to do, and she's done it. But there's no doubt in my mind that it cannot have been paracetamol. She knows it wasn't paracetamol. You know it wasn't paracetamol. I know it wasn't paracetamol. And I'm pretty damn sure Harry would never have been taking around paracetamol. So that's the very first thing.
She then goes on. She then goes on to say, Lady C.
Stop, Dan, listen.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit agitated. Doria, bring me some weed.
Well,
or maybe Mickey and Aurora can get some Coke for me. That will sort of stop my throat from being so parched.
Some Diet Coke, Lady C. Yeah. Charlotte Griffiths then goes on to write, and again, you're probably correct, Lady C. This is probably in order to get the story across the line legally, but she does go on to write, and it is fair that I share the whole thing. Harry, who chronicled his youthful enthusiasm for recreational drugs in his autobiography Spare, told me with uncharacteristic seriousness that he was unable to indulge in narcotics these days due to the risk of random army drug tests. While others might take cocaine at the clubs, bars, and parties he went to, he told me he now took something called creatine. It's a perfectly legal food supplement which is normally mixed with water and drunk by bodybuilders looking for that extra something. When inhaled in powder form, Harry had explained, the stuff provides a burst of energy that keeps one dancing till dawn. I have no idea if he's correct, so please don't try this at home. They also discussed American Girls over dinner, Charlotte Griffiths says. And she writes, interestingly, given the course his life would take, he vigorously defended American women, telling me he believed that while American Girls can be glossy, they are much more cerebral than people give them credit for. So what do you make of that, Lady C? The fact that it's almost worse. Can I just be honest about it? It's almost worse if he's not taking the drugs, but he's wanting the women around him so that he can trust them to be off their face on creatine or whatever it happens to be. That's almost worse.
Well, but I don't think she's implying that what he put under her tongue was creatine. I don't think.
No, she's not. She's saying it's paracetamol.
No.
But you know the point that I'm making, Lady C.
No,
whatever
absolutely.
he's...
The point you're making is that he wanted them to be pie-eyed while he was ostensibly relatively sober.
Yeah, and I'm saying that doesn't make him a gentleman. So what I'm saying is that even if she is telling the truth, which is that because of his army drug tests, he wasn't able to take illegal substances at that particular time. Even if she's telling the truth, it doesn't make it any better that he's offering things up to women who he's just met. I would argue that is a very unprincely, ungentlemanly thing to do.
Oh, it makes it much worse, Dan.
Yeah.
Because it means that he's in control and sober, or, well, at least not sober in terms of drugs, if not drink. Well, the girls are their level of control has been diminished as a result of the tablets he's placed in their mouths. I mean, the whole thing is seriously decadent. But then, of course, we've always known that Harry was seriously decadent.
Yeah, but if this was someone other than Prince Harry doing this, Lady C, that person would be described as a creep. And as someone not to be trusted.
You can certainly describe Harry as not only a creep, but a jerk.
Now, Lady C, at the time, you might remember this, there was a lot of conjecture involving Katie Nichols' book. Now, she was Charlotte Griffiths' boss at the Mail on Sunday at the time. And it was this conjecture about whether Prince Harry had swallowed a goldfish at the wedding of his former nanny, Tiggy Legg Burke. And of course, this allegation had to be removed from the book because Harry denied it. But Charlotte Griffiths reports that his chums thought the whole thing was hilarious and adds, the dining room in our country house contained a large aquarium. As we walked past it, a friend joked, I hope you're not going to swallow another goldfish, Harry. So again, obviously, my reading of this is that it seems like Harry lied again to deny a journalist's claim, and we now have a whole load of track record of him lying, Lady C, from Spare to Netflix to Oprah to court, and lied about it, and his friends thought it was hilarious, and that he seems probably true that he had swallowed this goldfish.
Well, certainly the implication from his friends' comments is that he had swallowed the goldfish. He admitted it to them. They knew he'd swallowed the goldfish. And that's the implication of don't swallow another goldfish.
And Harry, now Lady C tries to make a big thing about the fact, he's under threat because of his kill count. He's an Islamist terror threat because he revealed the kill count of the Taliban members who he killed in Spare. But Charlotte Griffiths writes, after lunch, this is on the next day, they're a little bit hungover, and she writes, after lunch, we all retired to a cinema room, and as it was getting dark by then, we all watched a couple of films. One was an action movie that culminated in Islamic fundamentalists attempting to shoot up the White House, a scene that Harry was particularly affected by. Allahu Akbar, he proclaimed loudly to the room, rolling his eyes. So again, Lady C, look, that's probably just a throwaway line, but it is quite interesting, isn't it? Now in the context of him trying to say, I need my security because I'm an Islamist terror threat.
I think he was just being witty and droll, and I think that's perfectly harmless. And I mean, it's a sort of thing I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And he did fight the Taliban. No, I don't have a huge problem with him doing that, I'll be honest. Then there's the whole question, Lady C, and I did ask Charlotte about this yesterday, about whether there was a romance between them, because my suspicion was always that there was, but she denies it, writing, at some point while we were all watching it, Harry shuffled over to my beanbag, got under the blanket, and I was sitting under and put his arm around me. There was nothing particularly romantic about the sweet gesture. Although I wasn't physically attracted to him, I felt slightly uncomfortable. I was dating someone else at the time, and besides, he'd kissed another girl the night before, a girl who had turned up for the weekend, on the arm of one of his friends. By breakfast, it all seemed to have become part of the previous night's entertainment, and everyone simply laughed it off. So, what do you make of that, Lady C?
Well, I will make an observation, Dan, that if they had something, it would have been a passing fling. And if it was a passing fling, especially in the light of all that has happened, she would be very silly to actually acknowledge that there had been anything that had happened between them. So I am not saying that I accept or take with a pinch of salt. I keep an open mind on it.
Yeah, because my read of the messages...
Sorry?
Well, I was just going to say, my read of the messages was that it had been romantic. So because, you know, he was very flirty. He called her Charlotte G-string. He spoke about the cuddle. So I did want to actually put it directly to Charlotte yesterday because, you know me, Lady C, I'm very fair. You know, if I've said something, I want people to have the opportunity to respond. So I just want to show you what she said and get your reaction off the back. The Mr. Mischief thing, and this has obviously become really important, you use it first. So it's a little nickname, seemingly, between the two of you. But he does acknowledge it, doesn't he, later? So do you think he would have been aware of it?
Aware of the nickname Mr. Mischief? Yes. Well, that weekend, everyone came out with mad nicknames for each other. We all know what mine was. And I didn't know him that well. So I felt it was a bit over familiar to come up with a nickname. So I came up with Mr. Mischief. It wasn't very good. I have to say, I wish I'd been a bit wittier. But again, this is the first time I'd met the guy, and I'd spent two days and 2 nights with that whole gang. So I got to know them pretty well.
And the thing, Charlotte, he does use the term. I think this is one of the reasons that he has been caught red-handed, because yes, you use it first, but he then says back to you, Mr. Mischief, ? How do I get that title? I was surely no worse than anyone else. So he is at least acknowledging that he's aware that you had called him it, at the very least.
Yeah, he was. And, I think it's all sort of harmless banter, really. You know, we were some 20-year-olds sort of reminiscing about a wild weekend.
And I asked Lady C after that whether there had been a romantic relationship between them, and she said no.
Well, a weekend bonk is hardly a romantic relationship. It's a weekend bonk. I'm not saying that they had a weekend bonk, but the way they conducted themselves and continued for quite an extensive period of time thereafter shows that there was certainly a frisson of attraction between them. I mean, she might like to deny it now, but she was right up there with him in responding and in provoking. So I think the only rational reading of the situation is that there was some attraction between them. And, you know, I am sufficiently worldly, and remember, Dan, this is my world that we're speaking about.
Absolutely.
And I know all about people in their 20s.
At aristocratic dinner parties with royals.
At weekend house parties, having a little tryout. And if it doesn't work well, it doesn't work well. That's no big deal. But so whether they actually let's put it this way, whether things came to fruition or not, they certainly started out with the intention of it. There was an attraction there, it's obvious. And I don't knock her for saying now that nothing happened, even if something did happen, because she really needs to maintain her dignity. And it would be really very tacky of her to say, well, actually, we had a roll in the hay and yes, I really didn't think he was any good, or, you know, the train arrived very early at the station, and I'm used to trains arriving a little bit late. And quite frankly, I didn't want to have to take my suitcase off before the doors were even open, sort of thing.
Yeah, and she was very clear that she was embarrassed that these Facebook messages had been released. She had absolutely no intention of releasing them herself. Over many years, she had never considered kissing and telling on Harry in any way. It was only because she needed them, given he was accusing her of phone hacking, which just seems extraordinary. But Lady C, Charlotte Griffiths doesn't seem particularly happy with you in today's Daily Mail piece. This is what she wrote, and then I'll let you respond. She said, I was saddened, if not entirely surprised, that in the sewers of social media, where women are routinely abused and objectified, I was bombarded with tens of thousands of messages dubbing me a harlot and a slut and worse. At one point, Lady Colin Campbell, the sensationalist royal commentator, saw it fit to call me a drunkard. The hatred and bile was sickening. Were you surprised to see that, Lady C?
Well, I certainly was. Because insofar as I recall, I never called her a drunkard. She called herself a drunkard. And to help her and exonerate her, I made the point that she was aware, that she made the point that she, and she says it, listen to what she said and listen to her explanation. She was drunk. They were both high-eyed. She said they were all drunk for the whole of the weekend. And then there was another meeting where they were both drunk as well. So she said she was drunk. I do not recall having said she was a drunkard. What I do recall saying is that I understood that she was caught up in a sort of drunken weekend with young people, like it's no big deal, and that she's cleaned up her act and gone on to get married and have children. And so for her to actually say that shows that yet again she's not particularly accurate. And also, as a friend of mine said to me, who phoned me up and said, and brought it to my attention, and I said, oh, well, I can't, this is ridiculous. And she said, well, don't take it to heart, because you're the only name she's mentioned, and she's clearly dropping your name, because what she's doing is saying, look, I'm now so famous that even Lady Colin Campbell mentioned me. But since she can't put it like that, she accuses me of calling her a drunkard. Well, she called herself a drunkard. She said that they were drunken weekends. Listen to what she said. I mean, but this, again, is typical of a certain category of journalists, which you fortunately have never been. But you and I both know that there are many journalists who will scrape the bottom of any barrel if they think it's going to suit them. And she's clearly one of them. And let's remember also, she has a long track record of coming up with very pro-Harry and Meghan things. So I mean, her stance is somewhat dubious also. to call me a sensationalist royal commentator. First of all, I've written about 14 or 15 books. I'm not primarily anything but an author. That's number one. Number two, anybody who's ever watched my show will come, and in fact, I'm constantly being commended for being anything but sensationalistic, that I actually take a very measured point of view of everything. So for Charlotte Griffiths to call me and to denigrate my literary career and cast me in the role that she's in, because she's a royal commentator with nothing else to recommend her. I'm not. And for her, it's like she's saying she's a blonde and I'm a brunette. I mean, the whole thing is just ludicrous. But as this friend of mine said, well, she obviously is promoting herself and pushing herself forward. And she was doing it also on the back of my name. So what can I tell you? The whole thing's ludicrous.